then it's abstinence, and then it's just really making that choice. For me, was to not do it anymore, and it started out just 1 minute at a time, and then turned into 2 minutes and three and an hour.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How's it going?
Oh, it's going. You know how it is, traditional Anchorthon fashion, you're guest one.
I'm guest one. I'm honored.
So super excited to have you on. It's been far too long since we've had conversation.
Yeah. I'm glad to have this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to do it and be a part of it.
So as we learned last year, 20 minutes goes lightning quick. So I kind of want to get down to business quickly, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
All right. So I've been noticing, as of more recently, you've been doing a lot more long form interviews on your podcast. How has that been going?
I really enjoy it. It's Anchor is always evolving and changing, which and so I'm trying to do the same with my podcast. And so to have guests on and do some long form, like talking or interview ish, however you categorize it, has been a good opportunity for me to branch out and get to know my listeners a little bit better. So I'm enjoying it.
So, have you heard any unexpected stories having the longer conversations? Because I noticed, at least for myself personally, when you have longer conversations with people, you start to get a little bit behind the layers and learn more vulnerable things about them and kind of understand who they are as a person a little bit better.
Yeah, not as yet. Not as yet. The onion has not been peeled back that far, but I'm hoping to do that. I have an upcoming interview that I'm really, really excited to do. That's with a writer of a movie that's out soon, and it's getting good reviews. The guy who produced the Gremlins and directed Gremlins produced this movie, so I'm going to be interviewing him. So I'm excited about that, and I'm hoping that will be able to dive into the mind of what made him tick on writing the movie.
Now, how did you connect with somebody like that?
I got lucky with this because this one happens to be my uncle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's my mom's little brother, and he moved to Hollywood years ago, and has just been pursuing his dream of wanting to make his mark in Hollywood. And he has a creative mind, and he's been in a movie called The Base, which was like released right to Cinemax. One of those movies back in the early 2000s where they just would produce them and put them out, and he was killed within the first couple minutes of the movie. It was pretty good. And but he got into writing, and he wrote this movie called Camp Coldbrook, and it got picked up, and some people that are in it are like Hollywood scream queens and Hollywood actors that are known for movies like this, and it's like a paranormal thriller.
That's it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to that. So that'll be fun, and who knows what the new year will bring for me at We Live on a Planet, because I'm just it's changed ever since music was kind of taken out. If you wanted that option to have people that could come over and be a listener support, one of the steps to that was you had to make sure no more third-party music, and that was a big part of my show at one time. Mm-hmm. And it just changed, and that's fine with me. I've the older I've gotten, Mike, I think that change has gotten a little bit. I've been able to deal with it easier, I think.
Now, I do want to revisit that, but before we do, going back to the dying first couple minutes of the movie, did you know there's actually actors who are superstitious? So they have clauses in their contract that they cannot die in
really?
the movie they're in.
Oh, I did not know that. See, I love learning new things. And I don't know if it was the first couple minutes, but it was pretty soon into in the movie he did.
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting though. That makes sense. I know there's actors that don't want to be typecast for certain characters, so that would make sense too, where they're like, "Hey, I don't want to be killed off."
yeah, so it really kills if you know who's on the list. It kind of kills the climax of the movie because you know the person's not going to die.
Yeah, I think I felt that theme from watching a lot of movies, anyways, where you watch one and if you know the star is pretty big, you're like, they're not going to die in the movie. But there has been a couple, which I can't think of right now in my head, but where the actor does die, and you're kind of like, whoa, I'm surprised by that. Usually, the actor does not die.
No, absolutely.
I like movies like that. I like when there's a twist.
That's why I really liked Star Wars Rogue One because all the good guys died by the end of the movie. It's like,
Yeah,
holy crap, that never happens.
yeah, and I guess you could say that about Infinity Wars too.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Now going back to what you were talking about just a moment ago with being more adaptive
Yeah.
um, as you become more experienced in life. When do you think you started becoming more open to the uncontrollable changes? Was it a life event or was it just constant pressure? Or
I think about 3 years ago when I decided to take the sober route of my life and become sober. That's really when I just a lot of things have changed in that of just having sobriety.
no, for having sobriety, what all does that mean to you? Because I know, like, from a traditional sense, most people would probably draw assumptions like, oh, so he's just not drinking anymore, or he's not smoking or participating in whatever habit that is. But I would assume that it's a little more just deeply than abstinence.
It is. I think it's for me that one sense of control that I might have, Mike, because our lives are such a roller coaster as it is. And there's so many things that we cannot control, period. We just can't. And we want to, and we try to, and we can't. And one of those, I guess, for me, in my mind, that I can do is I said, you know what, I can control. I couldn't. I didn't think I could. But now that I can, it makes me feel a little bit more grounded where I'm like, aha, I have control over like one thing, I guess, in this world. And that gives me that my little bit of strength, I guess. And it makes sense to me in my mind of what I mean by that, because I just feel like there's so many things that we really can't control that we try to, those are the things that we try to control the most that we really can't. And there is certain things that we can, such as using drugs or alcohol or overeating or any kind of addiction or any type of thing where you know you feel like you can't control it, but there is outlets to find that you can. And once you do get that, not an aha moment, maybe whatever it might be for you though, that's what's empowering to me. I guess that's what I found out of sobriety and the deep part of it, I guess.
Do you feel like gradually coming off is an option, or is it really a cold turkey switch and never go back?
Well, for me, I had my addiction being alcohol. I had to be monitored when I was coming off alcohol because I didn't I wasn't educated enough on it, Mike. I didn't realize that you can die from detoxing from alcohol, and it's one of the only drugs out there that you can die from detoxing. So you have to be monitored. And so that right there was a thing. But after that, yeah, after the monitor and the 24 or 48 hours of feeling like absolute shit and being through hell, then it's abstinence. And then it's just really making that choice for me was to not do it anymore. And it started out just 1 minute at a time and then turned into 2 minutes and three and an hour and days. And then, I remember having 30 days and couldn't believe it. I was like, 30 days. I can't even imagine. And talking to people that had a year in, and they're like, wait till you have your year sobriety. It's going to be so different. And when a year came to me, I didn't really feel that different. And I felt kind of cheated. I was like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to feel some magical difference, and I didn't. And it took, I'm I'm over 3 years now, 3 years and a handful of months, and it's finally starting to feel where I'm like getting the benefits. And some people are right in that first year, and some people obviously in the first 6 months, I felt different, just physically. I was down to 173 or 174 pounds and felt great. And I'm 6 foot, so that's just about they tell me the weight I'm supposed to be anyways. And so I felt healthy and I felt good, and just, yeah, everything. It saved me a lot of money too. I have an app that I talk about on my show sometimes, and I'll give the money that I've saved, and it's over like $34,000 in this 3 years that I've saved from being, and that's just alcohol.
Yeah, I remember last year when we talked, it was right around the $20,000 mark.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. And so have you seen an increase in quality of life then, above and beyond the health benefits and your relationships with having the extra cash?
I don't feel like I've seen the extra well, I guess I should say that I've seen the extra. We bought a new car just recently, and it didn't feel like it was a hardship, So
Yeah.
I guess there's some extra. The benefits I'm feeling from being sober is just that, like relationship wise, like you asked, is just with my family and my daughters and my wife and my in-laws and everybody. They'll remark still, even though it's this many years, every once in a while it will come up or something, and it'll be like, man, that's just really good. That's inspiring that you can still be doing that. And it hits me every once in a while too. And I try not to, though. I'm like, okay, well, it's no big thing. A lot of people do this. So let's just, I just kind of go with it now. It used to be like a huge thing. And now I'm just kind of like, oh, cool. I don't even think about drinking anymore, really. It's not even really there anymore. I can be around it and everything, which I'm lucky, because I know a lot of people in recovery have a difficulty with that, and that would be very difficult.
Now, how long did it take for you to get to that point? Because that's going to be my next question. Having
Yeah,
the tendencies and the urges to go back.
I still have some urges when things get kind of white knuckling in life, when you feel really kind of out of control or things are feeling terrible. I'll have that for some weird, I don't know, knee jerk where I'm like, man, I almost feel like going to drinking because that was always my go to. But in that same breath, I'm like, but I can't even imagine being drunk. So I don't know. It seemed, it seems weird because I've talked before on my show too. It was almost, once I decided to become sober, it almost became instantaneous too, that I just kind of lost a lot of the desire to drink anyways. But it was a good year, at least a year, that it was still kind of weird to be around it. Just kind of felt a little either cheated, maybe is the word, or kind of feeling like left out, feeling that I needed to be drinking to enjoy myself along with. But you know what else I noticed? I noticed a lot of people in my family that I thought were drinkers at parties and stuff that I had always been drunk at. We're not drinking, or maybe they'd only have one drink, and I was like, oh, Uncle so and so, I thought that you were always. Oh, no, I usually have one or two, and I'm like, oh, well, since I was always loaded, I didn't know, and so it kind of opened my eyes to that. Not everybody was as big of a drinker that I surrounded myself is what I had kind of perceived, because I was always under the influence anyways.
And then did you have to replace the tendency with another habit to kind of have an outlet for when things were getting rough, or did you just kind of like lean into yourself and the people around you for support when, like you said, you were white knuckling?
Yeah, mostly the latter. I leaned into my support, leaned into myself. I learned how to meditate when I was in rehab, and there was times I was in a beautiful place in California. There's times we go to the beach and meditate there, and it was a huge group setting. A bunch of us all doing it together, and um, I found myself trying to meditate more and be more just mindful, more in the moment, more living right for the now. Like my conversation with you Saturday, December 29th, 2018 at 8:17 or wherever we are, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And just being mindful for right now, and that's what's working for me. I did do AA when I was in rehab, and did it when I first came home, and pursued it for for a little bit, and then just kind of fell out. I felt, um, which I know a lot of times people that they'll tell you that the specialists or whoever they are, who whenever they say they, it's like, who are they? These they people, but they're like, you shouldn't drop out. You can't do it by yourself. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I'm like, well, maybe some people, maybe you can't. Maybe I am becoming complacent, and I didn't think that I was, and I didn't feel like I was getting cocky or anything. It just that's what's been working for me is just kind of by myself, just finding solace in the recovery of every day. Being sober it really is a gift. I sound so corny, but it feels so good, and it feels like that one thing I can control. One thing.
Do you feel like the group stuff kind of helped kick the snowball down the hill, and then you were able just to maintain on your own? Or
Yeah, no, yeah, I liked both. I liked the group setting. There was times when I was learning how to do yoga that I kind of would lose my mindfulness because there was guys in there that didn't want to be there anyways, didn't want to really be in rehab. Maybe it was rehab or jail, or rehab because your wife or somebody's going to leave you, your girlfriend or whoever it might be, and so they really don't really want to be there. And so you can feel that energy in the room, and it might be the first class in the morning, and it's a Wednesday, and kind of you not feeling going to group and doing all this participating and feeling talking out the feels that you are. But I'd look forward to doing this yoga because my wife did it, but I'd never done it. And so when the guy, a couple dudes would fall asleep, I can remember getting really pissed off and just whatever. And the yoga teacher just telling me to just let it go and listen to their snoring and get into their let it go, or let that be your breathing. And I'm like, yeah, but they're missing out. I'm feeling like they're missing out and not realizing this kind of like this gift that I was just finding. Because I don't know, I never really got into that stuff, and I found all that stuff kind of energizing.
I got you. Yeah, I was just curious because I know I've had conversation with others about either getting help or I've kind of talked a little bit um, offline when I was going through some of my challenges and stuff, and I think people probably have this weird vision of what getting help looks like because it's portrayed in the movies, and in the movies you have the people who like absolutely hate being there, and then you have the people that like just kind of look like they're a lost soul and they're there because they have no other place to be. So I try
Yeah.
to debunk what help actually looks like a little bit there.
Yeah, and I think too, I've been asked, what was my bottom or what was my rock bottom, and everybody's is different too. I think we're such a creature where we're always comparative. We're very, what do you have so I can compare to this and that. And I think once we start trying to do that game is where we're lost anyways, because it's hard. Everybody's is going to be a little different, and my rock bottom is going to be different than somebody else's. And but you're going to know, and people are going to know, and then the recovery, what might work for one might not work for another. It's just always, I think, having an open mind to whatever it might be. That hey, if you were open minded to take that drug or alcohol anyways without any repercussions or feelings, keep that mind open and have that same mentality when it comes to recovery. You know what I mean? Put that addictive mindset to work for you in a recovery mindset is what I've kind of done. I feel because I'm always gonna be an alcoholic. That's not going to change, and my addictive personality is always going to be there. Like I'm always that guy that is addictive anyways, and go really headstrong into one thing and just dive into it real hard and go to it. And so I'm like, okay, let me do that same thing with recovery, and let me do that same mindset with maybe, positive thinking or positive eating habits or something, and just kind of be like, okay, well, I'm addictive anyways. Let me do it that way. And that's what's, that's what's worked for me. And smoking, because I've just quit smoking, and that I did cold turkey. You asked earlier about like drinking, and with cigarettes, I did have to quit that cold turkey because it's the only way that worked for me personally.
I think that's going to be a great ending point. We're definitely going to put a bookmark there because you said some things
Cool.
there at the end that I definitely want to have more conversation about when
Sure.
we have more than a 20-minute segment to go. But real quick, let everybody know where they can find you online. And then we're actually going to be publishing the audio next week, so that way I can strip the audios off of all the other podcasts.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something a little bit more with post-production this year than I have in the past as well.
Okay, absolutely. The easiest way to find me is right at my website, really, because from my website, it gives all my other social media. And that's my website is WLOAP.com.
It's so cool that you're able to get that web address too.
Yeah, I wished I could have gotten We Live on a Planet, but somebody has that out there, and it's not an active, they're not using it. I did contact them. I never heard back from them, but I'm happy. I think it's fortuitous that WLOAP worked out, because it's nice, it's short, it's easy to remember, because it's just the anagram of We Live on a Planet, so it works.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again, Patrick, for being the first guest 2 years in a row.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't wait to have a round two and get into some of these topics a little bit more deeply.
Me too. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it as well.
All right, we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, groovy.